My name is Jess Beard. I am 29 years old. My interests and hobbies include my farm. I live on a farm and we have cows and horses and we farm hay. It's totally more of a hobby, but I love to spend the time with my husband on our land with our dogs. On this farm, we have 6 family homes, and all of which are my husband's family. And we were blessed enough to buy his uncle's property and be a part of this farm. And it's really just been the most therapeutic and amazing experience in my life because, I have this great space with family close by and also close by in the area. So people can come see me often and I just really feel supported. Some things that people don't exactly know about me is I would include that I'm a, all-star co-ed flag football running back. I can catch just about anything, and somehow I have moves for days and score touchdowns. I know a little bit about so much. My husband was saying to me, people have no idea that a lot of the things that you did on your Jeep, you did yourself. And I guess I'm just really a self-starter and I like to figure out how things work and then I try to execute. So I am extremely type A and extremely competitive, but honestly, I think that's why I've gotten so far through my MVC journey. Another thing that people don't typically know about me is I am a huge tomboy. I am typically the one who gets in for a job and gets my hands dirty, and I do everything myself. One thing that people don't know about me is I am a closet Renaissance Festival addict. I live under 10 minutes from our local Renaissance Festival that typically happens in the fall. Unfortunately, COVID has affected that part of my social life, and they are not having the fest this year, which is super terrible. I love to go there and people watch. I love to get in character. I dress up, and it's really just an adult playground, and it's awesome. Before I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, I was a clinical manager at a medical practice, and I managed everything from the office to the billing to really just everything. And I was kind of a workaholic. And, when I was right before I was diagnosed, I felt like really just the pain that I was experiencing was more from stress and overworking than it could be of cancer. I was diagnosed with stage 2 triple negative invasive ductal carcinoma 3 years ago. And I was completely baffled because I really truly thought that I was a healthy 26-year-old. I was training with a trainer a couple of times a week. I was in the best shape of my life, but here I am. And I was actually with my trainer one day and I was lifting and my chest was just like really hurting. And at the time, I was working in a medical office and I felt this alien feeling thing in my left breast. And it just really bothered me when I was lifting because it was, a chest day. And so I went back to the office and I grabbed my nurse practitioner, grabbed her hand and put it right on my chest. And I said, should I be scared? And she looked at me and said, you need to go get an ultrasound today. So things snowballed from there. Within 2 weeks, I was diagnosed. The pathology from the biopsy came back very quickly. And, right from there, I was just thrown down the chute of really how much life changes when you get a cancer diagnosis. So for me, I had been married for 1 year, and the first thing I heard in my first appointment was, "Do you plan on having kids?" And I looked at the doctor and I said, "Yes, of course. My husband and I were just married. We're not ready yet. We both enjoy our time to ourselves and just wanted to give it a couple years." And the first thing he said to me was, "Okay, well, we need to set up a fertility appointment to go ahead and harvest your eggs to give you the chance of being a mother someday." And that was probably the hardest part, right when I was at the beginning of my journey. And from there, I did all the fertility stuff, learned how to, give myself injections, and it was just, a huge change in my life. And from there, I had surgery on a Friday, and then that following Monday, I had an appointment I had surgery to have my port placed, and I was rolled from surgery over to the infusion center and had my first infusion of chemotherapy. From there, I had first of all, I really struggled with deciding what type of surgery that I wanted. Initially, I was like, you know what, take both of my breasts. I don't want them. I don't want the fear of having cancer recur. And then weirdly, because I responded so well to chemotherapy, my surgeon came in one day and he's like, "Oh, well, I think we can get away with a lumpectomy." And I was like, "Are you kidding me? How am I supposed to go from, okay, get rid of them totally, to, all right, maybe we'll save some, and then maybe we'll preserve my breasts so that I can breastfeed someday when, I'll ever be able to have my children." And it was just a really hard time for me. So what I decided is, let's just take the affected breast. And I had that surgery, and it was very successful. But we did find out that the cancer was in my lymph nodes. So from there, I was told that within a month, I had to have a second surgery to remove 10 more lymph nodes to decide where my cancer has spread, to determine really the best places for radiation. So I went from chemo to a lot of surgery, and then I went through a lot of PT to get my range of motion back, because I had to be able to lift my arm to have radiation. And once I started radiation, I went through 6 intense weeks. Once I finished radiation, I went on a oral chemotherapy pill. My oncologist decided that, we're finished treatment. There's no evidence of disease. And, this was almost 2 years ago. So from there, I had 2 months of being Ned, and I thought, okay, great, time to get back to my real life, figure out what my career is going to be, figure out where my husband and I were going to go with our lives, and when will we start our family. Within 3 months, I started having this incredible lower abdomen pain and back pain. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And I didn't know what to do. So I went to the emergency room, and, I expected it to be something with my ovaries, something with my period, something, maybe a blockage in my digestive system. I have no idea. But within, the short visit that I was at the ER, I had a CT scan, and they found cancer all in my liver. So I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer over 1.5 years ago. So I am on my 4th line of treatment, and it's kind of crazy because I recently had an appointment with my oncologist, and I just had this question because so many people were telling me like, okay, I'm on my 1st line of therapy, I'm on my 2nd line of therapy. And I just really didn't understand what that meant. I thought it meant different treatments, but I was like, oh no, I never hear of anyone, past their 2nd line. And if they are, it's, usually they're talking about hospice, and it's just a really bad situation. And my oncologist told me that I was on my 4th line of treatment, and to really count my blessings because most people don't get to their 4th line of treatment. When I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, I will never forget the day. My pathology came back from a liver biopsy, and I was standing in my in-laws' kitchen with my husband, and my phone rang with my oncologist, and he called me. And the second I heard his tone of voice, I knew. And he said, Jess, you have cancer, and it's metastatic. And from there, I completely shut down. I had already, in a way, felt like a burden to my family because I needed so much help and support. And all I could think was, I'm supposed to be going back to normal. I'm supposed to have this life. I'm a new wife. I want to start a family. And instead, I'm told that I have a terminal illness. And I just remember telling my husband that I needed to have a couple minutes to myself. And I went downstairs. At the time, we were living in my in-laws' basement. And I went downstairs and I started punching the crap out of the tile floor and just completely melting down and screaming, why did this have to happen to me? I did everything I was supposed to do and some, and it still came back. When I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, I didn't exactly know the full meaning of what it meant. I know that I started following the hashtag metastatic breast cancer because I wanted to really just understand more about it. And, I was reading other people's experiences with their cancer and what they were experiencing through their treatment. And I thought I knew what happened, but you really don't know. You have no idea until you're actually diagnosed. Initially, when I was looking for support and information, I went on Facebook and I joined a bunch of private groups that are closed metastatic groups to really, immerse myself, or at least put myself in the arena with other people who were thriving with this terminal illness. And I wanted to understand really what I was getting into. I knew, okay, I'm going to be in treatment for the rest of my life. And I remember the first time that I actually said that in front of my husband. It was when we were, I think we were at my first infusion of my 1st line. And one of the social workers came in and they were saying, what are you going to do about preserving your fertility? Again, they were bringing it up. And I just remember looking at them and saying, we don't have to preserve my fertility because I'm going to be with treatment until I die. And when I said that, that's when it finally really, really hit me of understanding that I did have a terminal illness. And honestly, I was with my family. I had to tell everyone to leave and to leave me alone. I completely broke down in that moment because, again, I was a young, healthy 20-something year old. And now I'm going to be in treatment for life. I'm on my 4th line of treatment, and I have my mets in my spine, in my right hip, in all throughout my liver. And it's kind of crazy because I asked my oncologist, are the tumors shrinking? Are they, are we getting somewhere? And he kind of explained it like, say you take like a handful of dust or dirt or something and you throw it at something, and however it spreads across something is how he described my cancer in my liver. So I have it all throughout, but I technically am stable, which is super exciting and such a relief for me because I am on my 4th line of treatment. And it's really just been a short time since I have been diagnosed, and I'm doing really good. It's so crazy because with me having as much treatment as I've had, I would expect for me to look awful, look like I'm dead, but somehow I am still functioning like a normal human. I manage my house. I do stuff all around my farm. My dog just broke his leg, and I have to carry his big German Shepherd Greyhound self outside. And really, I'm so much stronger than I've been since I've been diagnosed. The most challenging moments of living with MBC is really just waking up and existing every single day. I know that sounds crazy, but it's so true. I wake up and, I know not everyone feels refreshed when they wake up. They might need some coffee. They may need to do some stretching or whatever they need to do to get energized for the day, but I never have that energy. I experience really, really traumatic body aches from my bone mets. The things that bring me joy include my dogs. I love my dogs. I have a Chihuahua Pomeranian and a German Shepherd Greyhound, and they're the cutest, and they give me so much life every single day. And my farm gives me so much joy. I have, seriously, like, you go outside and all you hear is nature. You don't hear cars, you don't hear people, and it's so therapeutic for going through what I myself am going through. And I couldn't dream of a better environment to be in at this stage of my life. And to be honest with you, I think that's why I have done so well with treatment, is because I have such a great, environment that brings me so much joy. My mom is an angel. She is my biggest supporter aside from my husband. She is my caregiver Monday through Friday, and she's my best friend. And having the time that I have with her, I could not be more grateful because we get to have that special time, but also so thankful because I have someone who loves me unconditionally, and she takes care of me every single day. She helps me with my house when I can't get out of bed. She helps me with my dogs. She helps with everything. She's really just, someone who wears all the hats and never complains. With COVID and everything we're experiencing with that, I am so lucky that I didn't experience any time between my treatments or my scans. I just, the second that we went into quarantine, I shifted all my appointments to telehealth, and luckily with technology and the relationships that I have with my providers, we have been able to maintain my care, and it hasn't exactly been affected by COVID. The biggest way that it really just has is, having to go to the infusion center and hydration appointments and just really anything that's in person. I have to go 100% by myself. And I've actually been hospitalized twice since COVID. The second hospital stay, I was there for 8 days, and I wasn't even allowed to see the people who are in my family who work at the hospital. Literally, no one was able to come see me for 8 days. It was the most grueling experience. COVID hasn't necessarily affected, it's affected to the point where, I can't have physical touch with a lot of my family, but I am lucky enough to live where I live, and I try to really maximize when the weather is beautiful outside, and I try to, have visitors, my family and my closest friends come see me on those days so that we can sit outside and socially distance. In fact, we did have a friend visit recently, and he lives in a different state, and so he flew in and he called and was like, I'm in town, I want to come by. And it was a beautiful day, so we said okay, and we hung out, we socially distanced. When they came in the house, they wore a mask, they hand sanitized, I cleaned everything after. And when my friend got back and he was going back to work, he had some congestion and turned out to have tested positive for COVID. So that's probably the closest that it has come to affecting me. And I'm just like so happy that I have the space that I have where I'm able to still socialize and see the people in my life. My biggest fears about COVID is that we will never get a hold of it. We will never really make the strides necessary to make anything truly safe for anyone again. I feel like I'm going to wear a mask everywhere forever. And I feel like I'm going to stay in my farmhouse as much as possible because that's what I'm doing. What scares me the most is everyone who isn't immunocompromised or isn't, older. All of those people are frustrated because there's been so many standards set, and Maryland has been one of the more stricter states where we do require masks everywhere. And what's frustrating is just how many people who are close to me in my life who have returned back to their normal life activities, including being around so many people and not being the great at masks. So honestly, that just scares me the most. I feel like I have to isolate myself just a little bit more from some people because there are so many who aren't taking this seriously. I wish the world knew about MBC that it can look like nothing. The people who are diagnosed with it can appear 100% healthy, can, show up to an event and they can be their best self, but that might take, 3 days of recovery because it's so much social time. And I just want people to know that we are fighting for our lives and we're fighting for a normal, but we don't have that. And there's just so much behind the scenes that requires so much rest and support from caregivers that this needs to be, blown up to such a high level of awareness. And it's just so many people, even though I say like all the time, I have a terminal illness, there is no cure. People still message me and say, hey, have you heard of this? You'll be in remission. You'll get cured from MBC. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I say every single day, there is no cure. It's important for me to share my story for this project because ever since I've been diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, I have been on a full advocating hunt to educate everyone I know about this disease and explain why it needs so much awareness and funding for research, and really just that my life depends on it. Perseverance means never giving up. What people have said most to me throughout my whole life, even with cancer, is that, you know, how do you describe Jess Beard? And they say, you know, what I think of is grit. She never gives up, and she always fights with her whole heart. And that's exactly what I'm doing now. And all I want to do is educate and get my story out and other metastatic breast cancer patients' stories out.